Hello, hello. Welcome to Alberta Free Inc. You're going to hear some incredible information in this presentation. We expect that, in less than an hour, we're going to show you some incredible ways that we are in the process of making Alberta incredibly free and prosperous. So you've got Den Crawford and Doug Loewen on either side of Alberta here, and just want to set up a couple things before we get started. First of all, the information we're going to share with you is so important and I believe history changing that I really encourage you to clear your desk of all distractions. Sometimes it's so easy for the phone to go off or have another screen with something happening on there and you're just listening in the background. I encourage you to not to do that. And I want to ask you a question, and by the end of the evening, hopefully you've got clarity in this. How can you be more involved on the front lines of a fight for freedom and prosperity in Alberta? We're going to give you multiple options of how you can be more involved. If you've got questions during the show, during the presentation, encourage you to click on the question box and write your question in there, and somebody from our team will get back to you after the webinar. So let's get started. Quickly about myself. My name is Doug Loewen. I'm the VP of Stakeholder Relations. And you're like, stakeholder? What's that? Well, we're going to explain that to you. I've been involved in the freedom fight for about 20 years. 2003 is when I kind of thought there's something going on behind the scenes. So what Alberta Free is doing really, really resonates with me. And a quote that's been a theme of my life for these 20 years is freedom is the oxygen of your soul. So that's something that just really, it's something that wakes me up and I'm passionate about is, showing anybody the message of freedom. And my good friend Den here, who's going to be our guest presenter. Den, do you want to introduce yourself briefly as well?
Sure, Doug. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Den Crawford. I'm, by way of brief introduction, I'm a family man of about 30 years. I have 2 adult sons, live in Alberta. We're long-term Albertans. I'm a 4th gen, and my sons are 5th-generation Albertans. So we love this province. And my professional background is largely in financial services. I've been in financial services for about 33 years right now. I own my own practice. I'm aligned with a Canadian major, and I'm winding my practice down. By the end of the year, I'll be complete in that process. And I'm doing that to throw 100% of my time and effort in with George and Doug and Benoit Trudeau and the team. I've been part of the genesis of Alberta Free and moving through a career change at this time. So that's a little bit about me. I'm in Calgary, married to Lori. Lori's a retired teacher, and yeah, that's probably a good hand back right there, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good. Right on, brother. Well. Before I show you a video, I'll introduce you to the two dudes who started this whole thing and brought us into the mix. George Bears and Benoit Trudeau. Talking about guys who love freedom. These 2 guys are freedom fighters extraordinaire. They have a passion for freedom, passion for free enterprise, and also a passion for God. And God is who brought these 2 guys together during our freedom fight these last few years, and really gave them a vision for creating a different type of company. So I'm not going to say anything more on that right now. What I want to do is I want to play for you a video, and it's a video that summarizes what we're going to be talking about tonight. We call it the WEF counter video, and it'll give you a good picture of the fight that we're in and what we're doing to suggest some great change and solutions for what we're all looking at. So sit back for a few minutes and enjoy this, and then we'll get started. Well, that really sums up what we're going to share with you tonight, we're going to do, Den and I, is we're going to fill in the blanks now. Den, can you just confirm you see my screen okay? Oh, you might be muted. Just making sure you can see Power of Lobbying. Uh-oh, where's Den?
Yeah, I got it, Doug. All good.
Okay, awesome. Always want to make sure that things are clear before we get rolling. So I mentioned to you that this company was formed that's a bit different. Well, what makes it different is that it's a registered lobbying company. And most of you won't be familiar with really what lobbying is, other than maybe what we see in movies. And really, lobbying is about influence. When you've got relationships with key people in decision-making roles, especially obviously in the government, and you have influence over them and your values align, there's some real amazing things that can happen. So that's what we're setting free or setting forward on. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the values of Alberta Free. And this is what makes Alberta Free different from any other lobbying company, maybe globally, but for sure in Canada. First of all, we are freedom and prosperity motivated lobbyists. You won't find that in groups like the Wellington Group. That's the largest lobbying group in Canada. They fight for their globalist agenda and their globalist and multinational companies. We do something what we refer to, and a term that we've coined, is called class action lobbying. Very powerful term, because if you think of class action lawsuits, one person can't do it on their own because it's just such a gargantuan task. So we're bringing the masses together to accomplish these freedom and prosperity minded goals. And our clients are small and mid-sized business. Now, the challenge in that is these businesses can't write the check to cover, the massive cost of what lobbying costs us. So what we're committed to is putting in the time and the resources to make a difference alongside of our clients. We recognize that as much as we talk about freedom, freedom is not free. So let's jump in, and I'm looking forward to, I just realized that I think my camera is off. Or no, I'm back on. All right, so vision is so important. Without a vision, people perish. That's a verse in the Old Testament. And the vision of Alberta Free is, first of all, Renaissance thinking. So just think about that term. If you've got a problem and you keep on attacking that problem the same old way, chances are you're just going to end up with the same result. And what Renaissance thinking is attacking a problem with an out-of-the-box solution, attacking it in a different way. And what we're doing is we're looking at the broken system that we're living in the midst of, and it's so obvious. So we're looking at, instead of trying to fully try to fix that system, developing another economy, a parallel economy. And one of the things that we're going to do is increasing local GDP. There's a lot of things that could be produced and manufactured, and services that could be fulfilled here in Alberta. And that's what we're committed to. We are Albertans first and Canadians second. So our commitment is to increasing local GDP in our province in a way that all of us have an opportunity to prosper. So under a free enterprise, small, government type manner, where government gets out of the way to allow business to thrive, that's what we're working for in Alberta Free. Now, we've got two clients that we're servicing. And the first one is a client that backs an anchor project. And an anchor project is a business proposition. Now, we're going to be talking about a few of these tonight that are with anchor clients that we already have, and we're so excited to be working with. And what we do is we look for projects that align with our values, our vision, and mission. And then we find a promoter to back that project. So a promoter or a client. And it's all, sometimes a client will be initiated, or a client will initiate a project. They'll come to us with an idea, and we look at it and go, you know what, that aligns so well with our spheres of freedom, with our values. Or sometimes we've got an idea and we look for a client that can back that idea. So it's very exciting. Now, the other type of client, and this is where all of you come in, and this is, the challenge that I want you to all consider, is a stakeholder client. Okay, you might not be a business owner. You might not be able to back one of the projects that we're looking at doing, but you might be, a single mom, or a family, or anybody who says, wow, that really resonates with me, and that's something where if that project came to fruition, would make a big difference in my future, in my family's future. So a stakeholder client is really anybody that lives in our province who says, I want to back that project. Now, a stakeholder is not a shareholder, so we've been very specific. You're not investing in a project where you're expecting to see a return, a monetary return. You're backing our ability to lobby. So with the ethics commissioner, if you pay more than $1,000 a year to a lobby company, you're going to be registered on their website, and the public can see, exactly who all of our clients are. Well, right now we've got 2 clients on our website, because our 2 clients that we're going to share with you tonight pay more than $1,000 a year, but what they pay still can't sustain the very, very costly efforts of lobbying. So what we've done is we've developed a system, and this is where the class action part comes in, where you can join Alberta Free. There's a one-time cost for a project of $950. Nobody knows you're a client. So we can do a very covert, stealth method of our class action lobbying. And it's really exciting because it gives us a lot of power to have the masses backing what we're doing. And now if you're looking at that and going, wow, that's a lot of money, it is. And so there's other options for people who maybe just don't have that up front. That's where you contact me after, and we can talk about options if this is something you really want to participate in. And we'll get to more throughout the presentation. The next picture is a very incredible way of understanding the power of lobbying. And this is something that Den helped conceptualize. So Den, why don't you jump in and just help put some words to this beautiful picture?
Sure, Doug. Thank you. So yeah, this cruder form of this image came to me from a good friend in Calgary. He texted it over one night, not really knowing, exactly what he had in his hands, and it came to me. And I was struggling at that point, trying to describe to friends, family, and my colleagues, exactly what it is we do. What is lobbying or influence or SME, small medium enterprise development, actually look like? And this image came across my desk, and we ran with it right away. So as Doug started to mention, the magic in our formula, the magic in our model that's best to our knowledge is not replicated anywhere in the world, is having a very visible, very engaged anchor client who we help move projects forward with. And we'll talk to you about those projects so you'll get an actual working image in your head. But the magic to understand that is in onboarding stakeholder clients. Now, these are bona fide clients of the firm. They're registered. We engage our clients on an ongoing basis. We report to our clients on an ongoing basis. Our stakeholder clients are our collective Alberta Free family, if you will. The capital that we require to onboard and stay underneath that $1,000 limit gets us a little bit of runway per person, and much like the class action lawsuit, we're able to collect ourselves where we have hundreds, even thousands of stakeholders all lining up behind specific projects and allowing the seed capital to move those projects forward. It's not an ongoing fee, but the important part I want everybody to capture from this picture is not the cost, not the financial side of this to make this happen with our model. It's the collection of all the small, medium enterprise businesses and all the individuals behind a common interest, behind a common project. You see, in the conceptualization of Alberta Free, we spent a lot of time thinking about, okay, it's go time. It's go time here in Alberta. And what do we do? What do we do to secure our food? What do we do to secure our energy and our fuel, our health services, and so forth? So in developing our model, the the magic in it, if you will, sorry to use that term, is in the collection of the people, of the collection of the grassroots behind a common coordinated front to get some really key things done we want to do. So with that, Doug, I'll hand back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So keep that in mind as we jump and show you our 7 spheres of freedom. So if you look around this, this really captures all of the systems in Alberta, anywhere. And if you look at each one, there's a problem. And what we're going to show you tonight is a solution to address the problems of each of these 7 spheres of freedom. So let's jump in and on health and well-being. Oh my goodness. I mean, first of all, did you know that Alberta doesn't manufacture any medication? I mean, really the only medication isn't one that we want to mention, is remdesivir. Won't get into that, how it shuts down kidneys and is a horrible, very expensive solution for people suffering with this virus. So Alberta Health functions in the lowest quartile for quality, but at the highest quartile of cost. So that's a problem. That's a significant problem. And if we look at, I'm going to give you an example from the US. There's a doctor here that says that, said the doctors can't do what they've been trained to do. They have to follow a tyrannical regime or risk losing their license. So what we're working on here with health is developing a parallel system, addressing everything from the colleges that have been absolutely, as I mentioned, tyrannical in trying to determine what doctors, nurses, and chiropractors and can and can't do. They can't practice according to their conscience. And so that's what's being addressed right now. And we're in the midst of some very, very encouraging conversation with groups. So stay tuned. Future presentations where we can dive in a little deeper on that one, but there's exciting things happening. And on lifestyle and culture, did you know that most of the decisions affecting our lifestyle here in Alberta are made by Ottawa? And that's the reason why the Smith government, their first act was the Sovereignty Act. And the whole goal behind that is to put a wall in place to protect us from the bullies. So if the time comes, and it looks like it's probably coming, where, whether it's to do with energy or, environment or whatever it is, we need to take back control of what's happening here in our province. Remember, that we're Albertans first. That has to be our priority. So I'll give you a couple of examples of projects. One is education. That's something that we want to embark on at some point. It's not one that we've found a client for, an anchor client for yet, but supporting parallel systems in the educational realm. Justice, that's a massive one. And one that we can share with you a little bit that we should be kicking off very soon here is we're working with a few law firms with experience in class action. And we're working on starting a class action suit for all of those who've had adverse reactions to the experimental shots. So that's really huge. I mean, they estimate that 17 million people worldwide have died from these experimental shots. And we don't know what the numbers are in Canada, but we know there's hundreds of thousands of people whose lives have been affected. And it's time for some justice, not just against the government, but against the pharmaceutical companies. So we're launching a campaign to put up billboards in major centers across the country, and that's going to bring a lot of awareness. I mean, think of the people who are suffering with cardiovascular issues, and nobody's told them that it's a result of this shot. They just think, oh, I'm 35 years old, and I guess this is normal, right? So this is very exciting. It's going to wake a lot of people up and start to tie things together, and for us to see justice. So there's going to be more coming under this sphere that we could share with you in future days.
Justice and resolve, Doug. It occurs to me that to have some degree of resolve for people that have been hurt, or friends and family, people who have been hurt, we can't just walk away from this and call it a bad day. So the lawsuit itself, I visualize it'll take time, but it'll be very, 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 very well publicized. And the process of going through that lawsuit in of itself to put the feds and our elected officials on notice, so to speak, that as a citizenry we're collected. You know, think of that image of the fish. We're gathering our control back, and you're going to be accountable to us, right? So beyond, you know, the cost and the duration and the eventual award, if successful in the lawsuit, I just want to highlight that key thing that we really want to do this for the visibility and the resolve that comes with it. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Doug.
So the next one, food and agriculture. Hey, we all enjoy our food. What we need to realize is the connection between our food and our health. So did you know that Alberta produces 75% of the Canadian beef? The problem, though, and in fact, somebody yesterday told me that there's more cows in Alberta than people. So that's pretty cool. little well-known fact, right? But the problem is, then of those cows, the ones that are intended for beef, are controlled by slaughterhouses owned by 2 foreign entities. Now, the reason that's a problem is because those foreign entities shut out the competition. They price out the competition. They squash the competition. So people who want to start up small private slaughterhouses have a real challenge because of a US company and a Brazilian company. That's the problem. It doesn't give Albertans the chance to thrive in an industry that we shine in worldwide.
So, and that's the, Doug, if I can interject there too, this exists as an example of unchecked lobbying from the globalists, you know, the power out of Ottawa, the Wellington Group, for example, sending $1,500 an hour lawyers, a team of them, to Alberta to negotiate with Alberta politicians who basically, you know, for lack of courage and imagination, or even demand from their constituents, allow these sorts of monopolies or cabals to happen. So, for one, I'm passionate about digging into this file further. We have some exciting things going that Doug will share, you know, maybe touch on quickly. We can't go too deep into that, but this food and agriculture sphere is vitally important. And these spheres cross-pollinate as well. When we get over to a sphere further down the road, say the energy sphere, you'll see how they all tie together and cross-support each other as we, you know, have success developing Alberta resiliency in all these spheres.
Yeah, absolutely. So Henry Kissinger, none of us are a fan of, him and Schwab are good buddies. He said something 50 years ago, 1973. He says, if we can control the food, we control the people. If we can control the energy, we can control entire continents. And if we control the money, we control the world. Right? I mean, it's kind of an evil kind of way I picture him saying it, but for that reason, those are the 3 spheres where we have projects that are top priority for us. There's a doctor in the US that introduced a bill, and the reason they did this is because there's more and more ties between allergic reactions, antibiotic resistance, immunosuppression, cancer, and the food we eat. So this bill was to try to prevent these toxins. And there were lobbyists, so another example of the negative effect of lobbying, there were lobbyists that gave the legislators false information. They lied, right? Misinformation, disinformation, whatever you want to call it. And these talking points were repeated to the point where the bill got killed. And the congresswoman who put it in said that, you know, if I get some public kickback from a bill that didn't go through, sometimes I'll get 10, 20, maybe 100 calls into my office. She got tens of thousands of calls of people who supported that bill, but it still got killed. So again, another example of the negative effect of the big lobbying firms. So 2 of the solutions that we've got that we're working on right now, one is mobile abattoirs. So abattoir is French for slaughterhouse. And basically what that would be is a client will buy one of the private slaughterhouses and then do an expansion into mobile units. So instead of these cows having loaded in the back of a full truck and shipped off to market, and you know the beef gets all tough, you know, driving down the road for 50 or 100 kilometers, it's slaughtered right on site. So what does that do? It gives control, so the rancher knows they got their animal at the end of the day. They didn't, you know, get another, you know, lesser quality beef brought back to them for cutting. but also it's better quality beef. So that's a really exciting one to take Alberta beef to the next level. And the other one on the food sense is geothermal greenhouses. So we've actually got 2 sites that are approved, and our goal is to get some greenhouses up even by the end of this year. So that will be a model and a showcase for expansion throughout the province. So again, we're growing fruit and vegetables right here at home.
Doug, I just want to add an afterthought to that too, regarding the beef mobile abattoirs. I just want everybody to know that that technology exists. So we're not creating a new widget here. That technology was built out by the University of Olds here in Alberta a number of years ago, and it was a success. You know, it's a pilot success, but the pilot was scrapped for scrap metal because of the power of the 2 companies you see in front of you there. So with the political lobbying, the laneways that particularly George Bears and Benoit Trudeau enjoy with the current provincial administration, you know, we seek to change this, to create the laneway to compete against that global entity in a local GDP parallel economy fashion, and bringing all the benefits. You know, imagine our beef is well known around the world. Imagine a Alberta Beef Plus product, you know, from the superior ethical sourcing, the humane sourcing, the animal, you know, being birthed and being culled, you know, its entire life on its home property. This is an idea that's time's come, and if we can get through, you know, I'm not going to say around, but I want to go through, you know, the regulations that have stopped this type of activity, or more accurately, that have sort of condensed, you know, what we had dozens and dozens of processing plants in Alberta, you know, 30, 40 years ago, and we're down to, I believe it's 6. You know, I need Ben to confirm that, but we're down to a handful. And you know, our working model would be to develop relations with one of those existing plants, quite likely, and then build out lines, as you pointed out, Doug. So I'll hand it back there.
Yeah, who here is, you know, just thirsting for a steak right now? Hey, I mean, that's exciting talk.
Yeah.
The next one we won't dive in, you know, too deeply on, but it's so important, and some have argued that this one is actually should be number 1. You know, realizing that TELUS invaded our personal privacy by tracking 33 million mobile devices during the COVID crisis. So what we're looking at doing here, and I mean, gosh, in the last little while, we've seen, you know, these bills, C11 and C18, stripping us of free speech, going to sites where now it says content not available in Canada. I mean, when I was in Cuba 10 years ago, I remember them saying that there's certain content, lots of content they didn't have access to, and I thought, wow, that sounds so communist, right? I mean, now that's what we're living in. You know, podcasters starting to be regulated. I mean, so we're looking at doing 2 things here. And this is one where we'd be still looking for anchor clients to align with. One is having our own server structure here in Alberta, creating our own extranet. So again, some insulation between what, you know, the CRTC looks over. And the other thing is acquiring a group of radio stations where, and the goal will be to do it as a cooperative. So again, there's not one, you know, individual in charge, but a truth network where all of those people that you know, don't have airspace right now have a platform to share their very important message. So here's another one we're excited about, and its time is coming. All right, this is one that ties in very well. So and you know, Dan, I'll give kind of the outline of it, but you're diving a little deeper into this one, so you know, appropriate. You'll probably have some comments. But this is one that has to do with increasing local GDP. Right now, we import approximately $68 billion of goods, and that's just from other Canadian provinces. So how much of that is something that we could drive back to Alberta? There's so many examples. So I want to show you a map, and this is one of the projects we've been working on, and this ties in with our energy project. Is on this map, you'll see there's well, you see 4 H2s. So just like Where's Waldo, you know, have your eyes scanned around the map here, and those H2s are hydrogen plants. The one in Saskatchewan, just over the border there, I was actually there just previously and got to see it in operation, and actually brought home a couple jars of very extremely beautiful diesel. And the 3 in Alberta, though, are proposed sites. And then all around, you'll see these Fs. Those are existing cardlock stations. And what we're proposing is creating a hydrogen distribution network here in the province of Alberta. This would set us apart in significant ways. Dan, do you want to touch on this a little bit more, and then you can just
Sure, Doug. Yeah. So the manufacturing and distribution slide, Doug's exactly right. We make very little in this province. Ben likes to suggest in our presentations, if we were to put a curtain around our province and just stop everything going out and everything coming in, we'd have 3 or 4 days of sustenance here. And that's it's always been a problem for me. You know, when we talk about the energy file, you'll see a glaring example of that. But manufacturing is really the headwaters of economic activity in a lot of ways. If you think about Alberta in the context of manufacturing energy or oil, just put hydrogen aside for a minute, you know, we manufacture the raw commodity here, and that creates all the services, you know, of businesses to sprout up, and all the business people basically see a need in the economy and the marketplace tied to this manufacturing, whether it be in distribution or auxiliary services. You know, using the energy example, this is where you have the service companies come up, like the Tricans or the Calfracs and so forth. So we don't have any manufacturing here, and in addition to you know, our sovereignty and resiliency issues, which is obviously a glaring problem, it's a key economic driver. You know, if we can buy it made out of Ontario, we can buy it made out of Alberta. So we're really keen on continuing to press on the manufacturing and distribution file. And we're having some wonderful imaginative conversations right now, moving that football down the field with some Alberta, long-term Alberta businesses. They're just doing some fantastic stuff here, you know, just slightly below the radar. So, you know, in our multifaceted functioning, we're bringing, you know, various interest groups, you know, tied together by different projects from the 7 spheres you see there, together to move these massive initiatives forward. And we're able to do that because from the seat of a registered lobbyist with the ethics commissioner, George and Ben can move from the Minister of Transportation to the Ministry of Energy to a meeting with Danielle, all in the same day. Those ministers can't do that themselves. You know, the Minister of Energy, Brian Jean, he's a contact and a friend of the firm. He can't look in over the shoulders of his bureaucracy, obviously, and you know, he can't even walk into their office, to be honest with you, without proper registration and channels and who he's allowed to talk to and who he isn't. And those checks and balances are, you know, you could argue they're over redundant, but they're there for, you know, a political abuse reason. Well, as a lobbyist, you know, we're the grease and the ball bearings, basically, that can move around all that stuff and help carry the ball and these interests through the various departments and private interests that are, you know, just can't phone up the minister and get FaceTime. So yeah. With that, I see Doug has rolled the slide. Doug, I'll let you introduce energy, and you can hand it back to me if you want. Or do you want me to just keep going?
You know what? You're on a roll. Tie it together.
Yeah. Make sure you cut me off because I tend to talk a little too long on this.
You love your energy.
Yeah. Love my energy. So prior to my 33 years in financial services and capital markets, I was in the energy industry. I worked for a company called Pan Canadian Petroleum for 5 years, and I did 2 years in Elk Point, Alberta, and a year in Pinoka, Alberta, and then back to my where I grew up in Calgary to head office for a couple of years. So in that, I got to understand, you know, 30-year-old version of the Alberta energy field, but you know, more importantly, what makes it tick and how all the pieces fit together. So this slide that Doug has on the screen now, I won't read it out loud because I imagine everybody's had a chance to read it. This is a real problem. As an economic guy or a financial guy, an analyst, I have a deep understanding and appreciation for just how tightly the energy file and the health of our economy intertwine or correlate. It's almost perfect correlation. That is to say, if we want to grow our GDP by 3% in the province of Alberta, we'll loosely consume 3% more energy to achieve that. And it makes sense. You know, if you go outside to perform work in your backyard, you need energy. You're going to eat some cereal, you're going to go perform your work, and you'll refuel. So our lives are extremely energy intense. And the green solutions we're looking at obviously do not pack the energy density we need to deal with deal with the energy we consume as just regular people living our lives. So the energy file is extremely important, extremely passionate. Right now, we ship out all our crude and all our finished products to the global market, and then we basically get in line as retail customers to buy it back. So what's being proposed in this sphere here, and this is our most advanced project, our client, Alberta Independent Refineries, they're manufactured and are operating that pilot in Saskatchewan, and it's been tremendously successful. Essentially what's happening is they're taking crude out of a producer's sales stream, pretend it's XYZ Resources. So we negotiate contracts with them. We take crude right out of their stream in the area they're producing it. So we're not moving oil all around the province in pipelines or trucks. And on this hill, we build a micro refinery. And that micro refinery in Saskatchewan that Doug visited, it's about, I think, 68,000 barrels a day of finished product come out. So the feedstock comes directly in. We refine the diesel fuel out and then put the remaining crude oil, save for the light ends of the diesel that we extracted out and a few other byproducts, back into the sales stream. And this is all on a 25-acre refinery on site. Now, the key, the really fun thing about this is part of our client's leading edge technology on this is he manufactures hydrogen H2 at scale at site at his micro refinery in Saskatchewan. So this is a tremendous exciting thing. When you look at the long range, I'm talking the 2050 range of continuing to add cleaner energy sources to our existing models that can deliver the energy we need. The hydrogen is going to play a key role in it. And if you can visualize, like Doug said, building distributed, not centralized hydrogen production out of Edmonton, the province is doing that as well. But we need decentralized energy, clearly. So if we're able to produce energy fractally at different places in the province, we enjoy that additional resiliency by not having the lights all kept on, to use a alliterative example, and, by one centralized location and all the power that basically goes with that. I'm going to stop talking there, Doug, just in the interest of time. So.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, Den. And since I was just at the refinery, I want to show you some numbers here. And as I'm showing you those numbers, take a look at this. See, I'm in my man cave. You can see behind me my motorcycle lamp, but also what I have is, oh my goodness, I mean, it doesn't smell quite good enough to take a sip of, but this is ultra clean, very low parts per million diesel that I picked up from our client. So look on the slide, I just want to draw a quick analysis of, Den mentioned decentralized, but the importance of having micro refineries. If you compare it to the Northwest Refinery, which is in Redwater, our client's refinery was $180 million. The Northwest Refinery cost 72 times more capital outlay. With the amount of barrels, 5 times more barrels is what they produce on a daily basis. Now, as far as output goes, what our refinery does is they put out 33% of it is in diesel, and then I think it's around 47% is in a very, very high quality marine fuel. So the numbers are just through the roof on comparing a large, and congratulations, all of us on this call own half of that Northwest Refinery, which was a absolutely horrible waste of money. Our vision is to put these independent refineries, again, throughout the province and giving local farmers, ranchers, anybody who's using diesel access to a higher quality, lower cost fuel. So
tying back in, Doug, to our manufacturer or our distribution sphere, right? So I didn't finish that. I'll just chime in with that. So on the next hill over, next to the refinery, visualize the end customer. So the product, the core, absolutely vital core survival commodity, diesel fuel. If you stop and think about what industry runs on diesel, it's absolutely massive. This model allows us to supply those key food growers, transport people, ranchers, and so forth, and all their offshore operations directly at the refinery level. And it used to be this way. If you have people in your life that have been in agriculture for 50 years in different parts of the province, they'll tell you the old days when they could go to the refinery and buy fuel, right? So the reason why we can't drink of our own cup here in Alberta, or we can't put on the oxygen mask before, you know, we try and help the rest of the world, is because of the massive political lobbying that's created the global stranglehold we have over our energy sector now. You know, the foreign ownership, you've all heard these numbers. I don't remember off the top of my head, but some 60–70% of our energy oil field is foreign owned. Some 30-some% of that is owned by Chinese interests. So I'm not, you know, that needs to be addressed, right? We need to take control of our own energy here first, put on our oxygen, take care of our friends, family, and our province, and by extension, our country and the world. And then we can sell the products out to the international markets. So
absolutely, right on. Well, hey, to finish it up, we're going to go back to if I can control the money, I can control the world, right? So, so Den, why don't you share how we're going to bring back control of our finance and wealth?
I'll do that, Doug, and I'll go quickly too. So I'll give Brett the executive version because I see we're closing in on our wrap-up time for everybody. Just so everybody knows, we have a hard time keeping our package, you know, to what we promise you, because we could go on for about 2.5 hours of all the exciting details and other projects we're not talking about right now. But you can see what's on the screen here. So this is a real problem. I personally was standing on my desk when the Freedom Convoy ran, and one of my first things to do was, okay, I can't pack up and drive to Ottawa right now, but I can support what's happening here. So I made small, you know, contributions to the effort as well. And of course, immediately I found myself looking over my shoulder, wondering when I'm going to get clocked. And turns out I didn't, because not everybody did, but lots and lots of people did. My understanding is ATB here, our provincial bank, led the charge. ATB foreclosed not foreclosed, turned in basically the names of more account holders or locked on more accounts than any other institution here in Alberta. So the big five banks are a problem. They're if you go to the WEF member partner page, you're going to see them all there. Somebody that's got a 33-year background in financial services, I can tell you we have problems there. So we identified early that along with food, energy, you know, absolutely critical is to have confidence and trust in our banking structures. So that led us quickly to the Credit Union Act as opposed to the Banking Act in Alberta. You know, right out of the gates, anybody on this call, if you share some of the vision and the concerns about, you know, Canada's track line that Doug and I are outlining here, the first thing you need to understand, and I can't tell you all the entire reasons in the interest of time, but consider moving your business to a credit union. And if you've made that leap, because credit unions quickly, they're owned by you, they're owned by the customer. You buy a unit when you become a credit holder, you have a member, you vote on the board, so you can create at the credit union level a culture that's appropriate to you. At big banking, that's not the case. It's just like, we're here, you know, and they're loaded with the ESG and DIE ideological corporate rot, maybe I could say. Anyways, once you've made the decision to do that, you probably, like I did, you know, because I did this after the Freedom Convoy, you landed at service, and I'm in the process now of winding down my service because I've met the Bow Valley Credit Union, Brett Olin, and was just absolutely delighted to know that there's a financial institution in Alberta that shares my values. You know, they operate as a regulated, you know, standard credit union under the Alberta Credit Union Act, which is benefit number one, not under the Banking Act. And they operate like a business that's owned by its member, a cooperative. So the culture is far superior. Brett, you can go on Bow Valley Credit Union's website and snoop around, and I encourage you to. Brett's one of our lead clients. He's got 7 branches in Alberta now. Bow Valley Credit Union's got 7 branches, mostly in the Bow Valley corridor. Alberta Free was just key in helping our client, Bow Valley Credit Union, open a new branch in Atchison, Alberta, to the west side of Edmonton. So to sort of bring it in for a summary, what our goal is with Brett and Bow Valley Credit Union's goal is, in of themselves, is to grow throughout the province and ultimately have a banking solution with the Bow Valley Credit Union seeds across the province. Now we will have, we could have a constituency, we have more than one, depending where the population is. But the idea is to have physical, face-to-face banking, traditional banking services, deposits, lending, so forth, and the entire online suite of things you would expect right in your community, because we're people that believe in people and people deriving these relationships. So the other thing too, and I'll hand it back to you, is this is a key sphere. If you were to have the yellow technology sphere in front of you, if you think about what I just said about multiple fractal locations with a freedom-minded partner in Bow Valley Credit Union with vaulted, secure storage in various places in Alberta, you can use imagination about how we could dovetail off each other's objectives. You know, what I'm thinking of right now is it's a high priority of the Alberta Free management to develop the technology sphere as quickly as our financial opportunities allow us to, and we need those servers stored in locations, secure locations, fractally located across Alberta, right? You can't just have one server, obviously. There are no servers in Alberta right now. So, Doug, with that, I'll hand back to you there, because we're pushing the limits again here. So.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, Ben. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about either Bryce Carl, our energy client, or Brett Oland, we've got videos of them that are on our website, and you'll actually be directed to our website at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to go back to this slide with the fish, and I just want to, in wrapping up our conversation today, talk about the importance of the stakeholder. If you think about, again, $950, what can $950 get me? And you just picture all of the things that could purchase. With everything that we've shared with you today, I'm going to bring it back to that question I asked, what is an area that you can be more on the front lines of this so important battle that we're in the midst of for freedom and prosperity? Is it the energy, energy independence, right? I mean, ensuring that, the tyrannical regime doesn't control us that way, or is it finance, or is it the food, health? I mean, all of these different areas, we've got multiple stakeholders who've said, you know what, there's 3 or 4 different areas that I, want to participate in. Can I become a stakeholder in each one? And, absolutely, if you're able to do that, we would love that. And so there's benefits that we want to outline for you in this battle here. And this is actually a new slide that we've added because we've realized that, there's not, sometimes people aren't feeling that, what's in it for me, right? And because you're not becoming a shareholder again, you're not investing in a project where you're looking at, hey, what is the ROI going to be on this? You're saying, you know what, Alberta Free, we believe in what you're doing. We see that you can't do it on your own. This is a fight that's going to involve, multitudes of people. But let's bring it back and say, what are the benefits for you? And the first thing I think of, and this is actually something that our very first client said, he said, you know what, George, I think, asked him, why is it that, and it was the energy project, why is it that you are investing in this project? And he said, you know what, one day I want to drive by that refinery with my grandkids. And I want to point out and say, you know what, you guys, Grandpa was part of the reason why that micro refinery was built in Alberta. That's, that is really significant, just to have a stake in something and say, you know what, yeah, this is something that that I was a part of. I made a difference, right? I mean, we all want to make a difference in some way. The other thing is Alberta Free is planning different events. So anywhere from, we'll be in your neighborhood at some point, and we hold presentations. For the public, we actually charge for our events. Again, we want people to get in that mindset that freedom is not free. We have high quality events and there's a cost. But for our stakeholders, you actually have a complimentary admission. So, but there's other events that we're planning on doing. And I won't get into the details of it right now, but we're excited to do an event in the new year around one of our big causes that we are fighting for is human trafficking. And we'll have VIP access for stakeholders to events like that, which is extremely exciting. Another thing is direct insider access. We hold what we call insider track calls for our stakeholders. So this is a public presentation. You know, we don't dive into anything that we can't be speaking about publicly. We don't give in this presentation. But when we bring our stakeholders together for a webinar, we go into some of the more you know, intricate things we're working on. There's going to be times where we say, you know what, we need some input here. If you know of people in this sector, we need you to you know, lobby your local MLAs, and here's a letter that we need you to prepare and maybe help a couple other people. So really there's opportunity to be at the round table discussion. And that's something that helps us tremendously, but it's also an opportunity for you to kind of be in the know, which is exciting when you look at the size of these projects. And then this ties in with this is opportunity to have influence. You know, we need to make decisions, and who do we look to? We look to our stakeholders. Who do you know that might, you know, be the right fit for this? So that's an exciting opportunity. And then the last one, which is something we're still in development, which Ben, I want you to add in a little bit here too, is because of the craziness that's happened this last few years, we've realized, you know, there's certain businesses we really don't want to support because, again, our values don't align. You know, if there was somebody that was freedom-minded, I would rather support them, especially supporting small business, because that is the backbone of Alberta. Well, what if we put together a marketplace where anybody could access this marketplace? You know, where do I go for, you know, my electricity and my gas? Where do I go for, you know, farm fresh food? You know, we want to open that up to all of, you know, the freedom lovers in Alberta. But what if we had a kind of an AMA style card? You know, maybe it's the freedom card, and all of our stakeholders have a card, and they actually get a discount at these businesses. And we'll share two examples with you. I'll share one, and then Den, you can share one as well. The first one is we've got an energy company. So somebody where every single one of us needs electricity and gas and Wi-Fi. What if there was a small business in Alberta? Well, there is. I'm not going to say what if. He's actually been in operation for 10 years. He's one of us, and we can get a discount. Their prices are already better. When I did my research in, you know, comparison to the big boys, but we're going to get a further discount for our stakeholders for that bill that you pay every single month. Den, do you want to share an example that you just brought into the mix this week as well?
Sure. Yeah. I've been chatting with through a direct relationship of mine, my son. I've been chatting with a Alberta provider of transportation. So at scale. So everybody would recognize the name. I should probably sit on it just till we put it together. But the idea being then again with a standard code, anytime there's booking travel around Alberta, an Alberta free code, if you will, identifying, you know, our collective group as stakeholders, we would receive discounts, significant discounts. I'm looking at probably 15% discounts, 15, to move ourselves around Alberta. So if, you know, it might not apply specifically to anybody on this call, but imagine, you know, family and children at Often University and so forth in various locations in Alberta. So we're driving to add value to that, and there'll be many more, you know, with what you see following up here. But the spirit in this is pretty obvious. You know, when we ask for the first of all, you to be involved, you know, ideologically, that's the most important thing. And then we asked for the financial help to actually onboard you and provide these services to you collectively with our other stakeholders. You know, we deeply recognize we have the ability to have some of our freedom community business partners help pay some of that back to you, if you like, or you can look at it that way. So they're very keen. The people we're speaking to, they're very keen to help us continue to build out the freedom marketplace, and basically, essentially, I mean, we're moving to a format with the freedom marketplace where we'll have enough there'll be things for your family that will apply, and you'll receive cost savings directly related to your relationship with Alberta Free. And much like that AMA model, well, different than the AMA model, much different than the AMA model. It's a one-time onboarding process. When you're a client of the firm, you're an insider track and you enjoy access and VIP and the marketplace items that we're able to bring to the table. And so we're excited to build that up further.
Right on. Yeah, and then we'll have some food ones that we're working on right now. Direct access to healthy food.
Yeah.
That will be a massive advantage, especially as we see grocery shelves, costs getting more and some things becoming inaccessible. So to wrap up, and actually, that's not the correct email address. That'll go to our administrator in the office. But if you want to get a hold of me, sales@albertafree.com. And what I encourage each of you to do now is think about which of those spheres resonates with you. Think about how, again, you want to be more on the front line of this this so important battle of freedom and prosperity. And if you're in a position where you can participate with us, whether it's doing the upfront fee, or if you need to do something monthly, we want to make it work. We don't want anybody to say I can't do it because of money, because this is so important, and we need thousands and thousands to do this class action lobby effort. So we're going to cut it off there for today. So appreciate each of you giving your time. And if you need to watch a replay of this, those are available as well. We also have, we're going to be doing 4 to 5 of these per week. So you can schedule another one, and we encourage you to invite others. The more people who see this information, the better. So really encourage you to forward the sign up link to others that you know who are like-minded. So thank you very much, everybody. Den, thank you for joining me in this fun.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
See ya.
Take care.